We care about you at Chevyland.
At Chevyland, the advantage is yours. The Chevyland Advantage. 2 years, no charge scheduled maintenance is included with every new vehicle. And for a limited time, take advantage of 0% APR financing for up to 48 months on select new Chevys. Plus, don't forget, every new vehicle we sell comes with a Chevyland Advantage at no extra charge.
Chevyland cares about you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Louisiana Sports Download presented by Chevyland.com. I am your host and the owner of GoPreps.com, Hunter Bauer. I am joined today by Airline head football coach Justin Scogin. Justin, how's it going today?
Man, it's going well. Thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Man, great start to the season, 3-0. Got some great wins over, two of the wins are over teams that played in last year's state title games, North DeSoto and Union Parish. But, man, you just got the Vikings out to a great start over there. Just talk a little bit about the preparation coming into this season. You returned a lot of great athletes, including Ben Taylor, who's one of the state leaders in passing yards. Just talk about the expectations you had coming into this season.
Well, I think Ben will be very excited you called him an athlete. We always go back and forth. He really is a good athlete. We don't run him very much. Going into it, I think in the off season we spent a lot of time talking about mental toughness and kind of overcoming the downfalls from last year, which the big one was the playoff game. We just wanted to develop some mental toughness in the off season and get used to doing stuff a certain way. And, all the players bought in, the coaches bought in. And, the expectation going into the year was, it's always let's try to go undefeated in the non-district schedule. Let's try to go undefeated in the district schedule. And then let's obviously try to go to the Dome. That doesn't change every year. That'll always be the same for me. But the expectation this year was, we have a lot of good athletes. We have a lot of people returning. Let's go out and let's prepare every week. Let's be a little bit tougher, and let's see where the cards fall. And so far, they've fell in the right direction.
In the preseason, you mentioned how your offensive and defensive lines we're probably going to have to replace some key starters there. Talk a little bit about just the work you had to do there, and it seems like it's doing pretty good, especially on the offensive side, averaging nearly 50 points a game. So just talk a little bit about how they've been able to develop.
I don't have anything to do with the offensive line. That's Coach Garrett. He's done a good job of getting them prepared. And then on the defensive side is Coach Landingham, and he's done a great job of getting some guys that haven't had a lot of playing time ready. And I think we have one guy on the offensive line that played last year, and we have maybe two guys on the defensive line that played last year. So, that's a testament to the guys, the coaches, knowing that, it's going to be a tough deal. And, it just kind of all goes back into the mantra, I guess you would say, of what we've been preaching and stuff. You can't make excuses because of this. You can't, let's just go get the job done. And I think, not only having players, but having coaches that kind of take that same approach of, hey, let's just get the job done. We've got to get better. We have an opportunity to be really good, but can we get these guys ready in time? And obviously, on both sides of the ball, I think it's just been tremendous, offensive line wise. We're a little bit undersized, and same thing with the defensive line. We're a little bit undersized, but I think we make up for it by how hard the kids play and how well they know the scheme and stuff like that.
What's surprised you so far, through the first 3 weeks? Certainly, as a coach, you want to compete in non-district against some great non-district opponents, but you don't want to be so beat up before, especially in District 1-5A, you don't want to be so beat up before district starts that you would be lagging a little bit. But, you've gone up against North DeSoto in Week 1, great team. Then you go on the road, you beat a good Union Parish team, get a good win at home against Northwood Shreveport last week. Has anything shocked you as far as like, man, we're in good health. We've got a 3-0 record. We're going into district play this week. What's been shocking so far?
I think the two things that I guess were most shocking was, I felt like neither team, any of the teams that we played, there wasn't really much of a drop off, and I was kind of banking on, North DeSoto had to, they had to replace number 5, and they had to replace the 2 good running backs on, on offense and the whole offensive line. I was kind of hoping, there would be maybe a lull or kind of a slowdown in their kind of offensive maturation and defensive, and there wasn't. They were just as good a team as last year, and they proved that when they went and beat Center and Loyola. So and same thing with Union Parish. They lose Trey Holly, and they bring in the Island kid, and I think the Island kid rushed for more yards than Trey Holly did last year. So I think that's just kind of a testament to those 2 programs and just how well they do of just reloading and moving on to the next. And the same thing with Northwood. Northwood is, I told some of their kids at our JV freshman game, man, y'all, they're not far off. It's just, 1 or 2 funny things happened. And we were able to kind of get an edge and score a bunch of points. But that's a team that I'm telling you is going to be a playoff team and a good playoff team in 10 weeks. They're going to be able to really shut people down, and they're going to be able to score enough to keep them in games. I'm telling you, that's a team to watch. Coach Brown does a great job. But that's kind of been the thing, I was expecting more of a drop-off from all 3, and all 3 were just as good as they were last year.
Yeah, and certainly, the first 2 weeks, y'all finished the game. I know it went down to the wire in both those matchups, but I think that's just a testament to the to the identity that you've brought to Airline in this program, is to being able to finish those big games. So we go into District 1-5A play this week. It seems like the district has changed so much in the last few years. Bird's down a little bit. Halton and Parkway, they're always good. Airline, district champs last year, picked to be the favorites this year. Jess Curtis going to Natchitoches Central. What's been the biggest, or I guess going into 1-5A play, what's the biggest thing that you look forward to as far as competing against these teams week in and week out?
Well, one thing is I'm not fooled. And when I say that, it's Parkway and Halton and Bird, and they're not. None of those guys are down. They're still going to get. They're still a really good team. All those teams are still really great teams, and just like I told our kids yesterday, look, these are guys that can still come beat us. Don't listen to the hype too much to think that we're just this great team and all that. Now I think we're really good, but we're not good enough to not show up on a night and beat somebody. We have to continue to be able to go out and run our offense and defense and do special teams at a high level, or people are going to beat us. And secondly, everybody wants to beat us now. Last year it was kind of we snuck up on a lot of people. We started beating people maybe because they overlooked us, but now we're going to get. I told them as far as for Benton, I was like, look, Benton, we're going to get their best shot on Thursday. It's not going to be, they're 0-3 and they're struggling and all that. As far as we were last year, we're 3-0 now. They're going to give us our best shot. They're going to do things that they've never shown on film. They're going to try to win this game because if they beat us, they're back to 2-2, and they're back to being able to be in the district race again. They'll be the leaders, the front runners, if they can beat us on Thursday. So I mean, it's one of those deals of we have to keep our kids humble and try not to read the paper and talk about how good we are and all that, because we're not a good enough team right now to just go out and sleepwalk through a win.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said earlier, they a lot of these teams play tough pre-district schedules, so an 0-3, a 1-2 record might not indicate just how strong a team is, and certainly no disrespect to Bird when I said down a little bit at the start of the year, but that just goes to show you the strength of this District 1-5A and how it's always been strong. And
they'll be clicking by the time they play us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Week 7, and Bird's just that type of team. When it gets closer to the postseason, it just seems they're a team that becomes stronger. But certainly, I think the 1-5A race is going to be one to watch this year, especially with all the teams involved. Let's talk about Ben Taylor a little bit. Second in the state in passing, 995 yards, 73 completion percentage, 15 touchdowns. Just talk about, what type of player Ben is and what he brings to that Airline offense.
Well, I think, first off, he's so fun to coach. Ben's fun to coach, one, because he's a competitor. There's one thing that people could never say about me is that I'm not a competitive person. I'm great to be around during the week, but when the lights come on, like I'm a completely different person. Ben's a lot of the same way. Ben this year, the difference between this year and last year is, you can tell distinctly that he's holding himself to a higher standard. Not that he wasn't last year, just to the point where he knows he's doing well and he's got to continue on that pace. And I have to tell him all the time, like, look, man, you're not playing for your next contract. Like you're not playing for your scholarship yet. Like you still got to make sure that you go have fun and do stuff like that. So, but the maturation process of him, I said last week in the media, if we called a play last week, and I said right after I called it, I said, "Oh, this is not a good play." We snapped the ball, and I watched a guy do something. And I said, "This is a bad call." And he moved on to his next read and made a great throw and a completion, and it was a 12, 15-yard completion. And it just kind of hit me then that, oh man, he's kind of hit a different level as far as, maybe as good or better than any of the quarterbacks that I've ever coached, as far as just he knows where everybody's going to be. He asks questions. He doesn't rely on anything other than his mental makeup to make plays every week. He doesn't try to do too much. He doesn't try to be somebody he's not. He just runs our offense, and in doing that, he turns into a phenomenal player. So it's only up from here, I can assure you. I mean, he's going to have bad games. He's going to make bad decisions, but overall as a whole, Ben is always going to be prepared to play. And on top of that, he's a fun kid to be around.
And certainly a great quarterback is not so great without a supporting cast, and I think that's what Ben has in receivers for Airline. If I can get to my list over here, Jarvis Davis and Kenny Darby, they're in the top 15 of the top receivers in the state. Just to have those weapons to go to, I think that speaks volumes of what Ben has to work with and how it makes him better as a quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a mutualistic deal between skill guys and a quarterback and an offensive line. No one's going to do anything without the offensive line. If you just have a guy snapping and four guys rushing, I promise you, we're not going to be as successful. So it all starts up front with the offensive line, and then you have to move on to you have to have a quarterback, and then if you have a quarterback, you got to have some skill guys, or you got to develop something that's going to be surefire way to get somebody the ball or run the ball a lot or whatever. But now. With Kenny's going to be out for a little bit. Had an injury Friday, but right behind him, Jarvis moved in, and Jarvis made plays, and Trey Jackson and Bob, and nobody talks all that much about Bryson Broom. He's just a steady guy that makes plays every week. He didn't think he had 6 catches against Union, no touchdowns, and then last week he had 3. He's just a guy that. He's a good depiction of why we are as we are as a program. Bob Patterson, same way, committed to Harding, one of the best tight ends in the state, and I say that very confidently, not just because he's my guy, but I don't think anyone blocks and catches and runs the way that Bob Patterson does. But there's such a good understanding of everyone's role, and Bob's role is not necessarily to block. He's not a blocking tight end. It's just worked out where he hasn't gotten the ball, and people are maybe paying a little more attention to him. But it doesn't bother him. He has 5 receptions. He's like, Coach, man, just keep running the ball. I'll take care of it and all that. So, he's a guy that's going to, as the year continues and kids continue to step up like Jarvis and Trey and Bryson Broom and Brandon Cooper and all these guys, that's going to start getting the ball a little bit more because they're going to start paying so much attention to these other guys. And it was kind of the same way last year with Bob. But, when you have a bunch of good skill guys, and not so just a bunch of skill guys that go out there and run fast and get open, but guys that actually understand and take time to learn the scheme and what we're doing. And, hey, if I'm here, if I'm 2 yards this way, if I'm and the thing is, Ben is always with them, and he's always talking to them, and he's always wanting to learn. And the skill guys are the exact same too. They want to, hey, how do you want me on this? How should I be? So, I mean, it's just, and there's a lot of practice. I mean, there's a lot of practice that goes into it. There's a lot of low-level practice, high-level practice, and it's kind of it kind of reaches its crescendo on game night because the kids really want to play for each other and with each other, and it kind of shows.
Sitting here listening to you and talk about, the players that y'all have and how they keep stepping up each week. Looking at your preseason questionnaire, you mentioned how you were looking for some of these key returners on offense and defense to step up and take leadership roles. Do you think that's one of the biggest differences this year, is you have more maybe not even upperclassmen, but lowerclassmen as well, stepping up, taking that leadership role? Do you see that being one of the biggest differences this year moving forward?
Absolutely. It's the kids that, when you get into a situation of where kids follow the right kids, you end up in a good situation. That's as a facilitator, as a coach, you have to make sure that the kids are following the kids you want them to follow. Right. And I think that's a big part of where we're at right now. I mean, I think the kids follow the right kids. We have such exceptional players. And, the second thing is, I don't think we have any kids that I wouldn't want kids to follow. That's the best part, is that we have a bunch of just good kids in the program right now. And for years to come, I kind of see the same thing. But, on offense, they're going to gravitate towards, obviously the quarterback. Everybody's going to kind of follow the lead of the quarterback. And rightfully so. But the kids are going to look up to Trey, and they're going to look up to Bob, and the linemen are going to look up to Nathan Hill, and the seniors that have been there and done it and won. And when you have kids like Trey and Bob and Nathan Hill, that's who you want them following. And the same thing on the defense. Jeremiah Boudreaux and Sincere Walker and guys like that, Champ Indris, Aiden Ashworth, those guys, they're following those kids, and those kids are going to lead them in the right direction. And then you end up with a situation like we have, where we go from 0-3 to, reeling off a bunch of wins, and, kind of taking the mentality of we're going to be more mentally tough. And the same thing in the off season, those guys have got to hammer the thing home of, hey, look, we got to get tougher. We got to get better. This is what coach wants. This is what my position coach wants. This is what the head coach wants. This is what we have to do as a program. And I think when you get them heading in the right direction with the right people, you end up with a pretty good program.
And in addition to that, I want to talk about the Airline high school community. Saw a couple pictures a few weeks ago. Stands were packed. I just feel like that's what makes Shreveport so unique, is that out of the different high schools that you have, the fan bases are so strong. They're so passionate. What makes Airline stand out as far as, the community support, the fan base? I feel like Airline has always had such a strong impact from the community that I think translates into how the players feel and how they perform on Friday nights.
Yeah, I think it's kind of twofold. Of Airline's such a big place that there's so many alumni, and there's so many alumni that love Airline High School. Just like that. Just like I love Leesville High School, because it's my alma mater and it's where I came from. It's where I grew up. It's where I learned how to do this, and this, and I learned how to be a great person and so forth and so on. But secondly, I think that the administration does such a good job of getting kids to buy in. Whether it's previous administrations and Mr. Rowland, that or now with Coach James, they do such a good job of getting people to buy into Airline High School and buy into the hype, and buy into the get excited about football and basketball and the sports and the extracurricular activities, that when they leave here, it's like, oh man, I'm gonna make sure I keep up with the football team, or I'm gonna make sure I keep up with basketball. And they do such a good job of making kids buy into just the school as a whole. And then you add that in with there's so many alumni, that it's just such a special place. It's more special than anywhere I've ever been. It's just people love Airline High School, and rightfully so.
Yeah, no doubt, and it's definitely a strong, definitely. Yeah, she likes to make guest appearances on the podcast.
I love my daughter.
And I think that's what makes Airline so special. If you haven't gone on social media and looked at Airline's social media accounts, they're definitely worth watching. They've got highlight videos and things like that. So that's definitely why I wanted to ask that question, because it seems like everybody is so invested in the success of that program. Not even just the football program, but all the sports and the school in itself.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, the guy that does all of our hype videos, he worked at LSU, and he's a graduate of Airline High School.
There you go.
He works at a local church, and he does all their video stuff, and he kind of does all of our video stuff. So it just means a little bit more for him to do it, being an Airline grad.
Absolutely. Coach, year 2 as the head coach at Airline. What have you learned in the 2 years since you arrived at Airline?
That there's a lot of stuff that goes into being a head coach.
Especially at the 5A level.
Yeah, it's so much more than I wouldn't say that I'm used to, but there's so much more just on a football level that you don't realize when you're a head coach of, you have to deal, you have to be the team dad, you have to be the disciplinarian, you have to make hard decisions, you have to, answer to the administration, which, is easy
Right.
for me. You have to answer to the community, the parents, so I think that's been that was an adjustment when I got here. Luckily we were able to get on the right track, and we have such a good group of parents that they really made it easy. We have a phenomenal administration who made it easy. I'm lucky in where I get to actually coach football. I actually get to, I solve some of the problems, and I'm like, well, some things are never going to get fixed. And so I just, go to practice, and that's how I kind of get away from everything. And but it's like everything else. I mean, if you in high school, if you have a good administration, you can be successful in anything that you want to do. And if they're willing to give you the resources and the time and all the stuff, because at the end of the day, I'm still the most important job to me is being a husband and a dad. And when administration gives you the time to do all that stuff and still be good at being a parent and a father and a husband and all that, that's how you're in a good place.
Leading up to the high school football season, and even as you enter and go all 10 weeks, and then if you're fortunate, 5 extra weeks, or I guess 4 extra weeks now, up into the Superdome, it can really be challenging and I guess stressful at times. Who is one person that you reach out to as far as in the coaching profession? Do you have that one person that you can just reach out to and kind of maybe, just decompress and listen to them and take advice from them? Who, is there that one person, or is it a bunch of people that you kind of reach out to throughout the season?
Man, I have the best guy that you could ever hope for in Coach Feaster. Me and him talk all the time. We talk about, whether it's our own situations, different situations, LHSAA, 1-5A, the Red River Conference. Just he's always a guy I can call and talk and stuff like that. And the other one's Robbie Causey, who was at Leesville that I worked with a long time. Same thing, we call and we talk about what's going on in Leesville, and this is happening, this, that. So those two guys have been invaluable for me as far as being a head coach, and and then I have just a number of other guys that I can reach out to if I need certain situational stuff, and then as far as the rest of it goes, my wife has been involved in sports all of her life, so it's easy to be able to go home and explain stuff to her, and me and my dad talk every night about what's going on and stuff like that, and my brothers. I mean, I have a huge support system that really takes good care of me.
And it
Me
definitely
saying some of the time.
I was about to say, and it definitely helps when you're going through the grind of the season, especially leading up to the playoffs. Coach, man, we appreciate your time today. Airline plays. Y'all host Benton Friday night, so the start of District 1 5A play gets underway. Definitely not. It's not going to be a game you want to miss. So head out to Airline and catch the Vikings in action this week, and then the rest of the season as they go through the 1-5A schedule. Coach, appreciate your time today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Hey, thank y'all, man. I really enjoy what y'all do, man, for high school football, and I think it's extremely unique. And since you've taken over this Go Preps things, it's been a game changer for everybody in the whole state. So, man, just keep doing a great job. We appreciate it.
I have to brag on Coach because it could be like pulling teeth to get stats and things like that throughout the week. And Saturday mornings, I can always count on the Airline staff to send me their stuff.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
So everybody out there, send your stats, please. So, anyways, Coach, I appreciate your time, and we'll try to get you on soon before the playoffs.
Absolutely, man. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.